By the way, I like to think that even if it means the end of the world, we'd still be British. We wouldn't randomly hug people. It'd just be like, what are you doing? The world's about to end. I understand, but get off me. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Very Special Relationship, the show where we used to look at each other and commiserate how bad we had it, but now it's the show where the UK looks at the US and goes, Jesus Christ, are you all right? My name is Andrea Bridges-Smith from the westerly side of the pond, and with me from the slightly saner east side is Matt Johnston. Matt, how are you?
Well, I don't know about that. Yes, doing well. Thank you, Andrea. And I hope you're enjoying your last few weeks of freedom.
Mm,
Don't forget to stock up on canned foods and to always make sure you carry your ID on you in case you're stopped by the orange faces. I'm assuming that come January, the US will have some sort of equivalent, of the black shirts to stop and
right.
question every good citizen that they are being productive in pursuit of making the temporer happy.
Yes, I will be sure to have my papers at the ready. How about you guys? You still doing democracy over there, or
Yeah, yes,
switched?
despite some quarter's best efforts, we absolutely are. I'll be honest, I do feel a little bad when we talk about the issues over here. I almost want to say, and in lighter news, the UK.
Yeah.
But we are having a bit of an American hangover here over here too, as
Oh.
there's been a fair bit of discussion indeed as to how we align ourselves, that is, the government aligns itself with the unalignable. Not only all the tweets, all the old tweets, from British politicians, including one David Lammy, who, if you remember, called Trump a neo-Nazi sympathizing, women-hating twat or something, I can't remember. And
Accurate.
I completely forgotten about this, right? But when Trump came to the UK last time and basically insulted our Queen and all that sort of nonsense, um, Lammy was actually addressing an anti-Trump protest in Parliament Square. That David Lammy is now, true story, our Foreign Secretary. Awkward.
Honestly, if he's not careful, he might end up as our foreign secretary. Trump's been on quite the little hiring spree, but we'll get to that in a minute.
All right, yeah. Well, very quickly then, Keir Starmer has also been advised to address his feud with Elon Musk by Lord Peter Mandelson. Now, in fact, Peter Mandelson himself is actually a Labour lord and stalwart of the Blair years, and his favourite to pick up the British ambassador job over in the States.
Ah,
And Starmer has been, how shall we say, well, he's not said anything. He's been reticent to do so. And I think Lord Mandelson basically should shut up. This isn't an episode of The Bachelor. It's not a feud. This moronic megalomaniac's website spread misinformation about three horrifying murders in the UK, which started race riots across England. Thankfully, nobody was seriously hurt, but that's not down to the moron tweeting about, civil war being inevitable. Starmer should keep his powder dry. There's still 2 months to go. Plenty of time for two charmless egos to clash and fall out of love with each other. And Trump is well known for firing people, rather. Isn't that right, Andrea?
yes, that is his superpower. I think you're right. I think he does need to keep his powder dry. All someone has to do is write an op-ed titled, "Is Elon Musk pulling Trump's puppet strings?" in a major newspaper, and the two will be at their throats by the end of the day. So, Keir Starmer, stand down. This is an easy fix. We're already hearing rumors that people are getting really sick of Elon Musk at Mar-a-Lago. So, this one's an easy fix. Just give it a minute.
An easy fix. You mean a bit like your election then? Oh, yeah.
Yes, I suppose we should talk about the post-election fallout, even though I'd much rather hear about what's going on over there because it seems far saner. But off we go. Now, as I mentioned, Trump has been on quite the hiring spree. He's been appointing members of his cabinet, and some of these picks, in fact, most of them, almost all of them, are completely insane. So I thought we would go through some of those.
Yeah.
And he seems to be using an interesting process to pick these candidates, and it's a two-step process, and it goes like this. Number one, have I recently seen this person's face, either in person or on TV? And two, are they the worst possible person for this job? And if the answer to
Right.
both of those is yes, congratulations, you're in the cabinet. Now, So far, he's hired two people from Fox News, one of who he wants to put in charge of the military. The good news is that guy doesn't believe that women should serve in the military, so at least I won't be drafted when Russia starts launching nukes at us. But the bad news is that he is an alleged rapist and a serial philanderer. Spoiler alert, not the only alleged rapist in this cabinet. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yes, this does seem to be one of those sort of, how bad does this actually get scenarios? But Andrea, so is that right? The Trump obviously picks, the president, incoming president, picks his cabinet,
Mhm.
but they don't have to be qualified at all. Just anybody, any random person, you could get picked to be absolutely anything. Just turn around and go, this, you, and that's it, right?
Yes. Now, there is a confirmation process. So the Senate is supposed to confirm cabinet members. Some of them require confirmation, the bigger ones, and some of the lower ones, he's just allowed to pick whoever he wants. For example, like his chief of staff, like he can pick whoever he wants as chief of staff, but like the defense secretary has to be confirmed by the Senate. Now, here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
Because obviously the Republicans will now have control of the Senate. They don't currently, but they will when the new group gets sworn in. All of the Republicans, you would think is just going to rubber stamp anything that he does, right?
Yeah.
But there's some questions, and Trump has basically said, you know what? Let's do recess appointments, which is where the Senate and the House, we just get them out of the way, and then he just gets to pick whoever that he wants, and there's no confirmation hearings, so we don't drag out all of their dirty laundry into the Senate record. So he's trying to kind of do that little loophole, but there are some senators, even Republican ones, who are like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I like having power too, and you're trying to take my power, and I like power, and so there's a little bit of that going on, which is spicing up the proceedings.
Oh, wow. Well, I was asking about how bad things got, so I do dread asking about this, but
Well, picture the worst case scenario and then
right.
multiply that by several factors of 10. Let's see, we've got noted dog murderer turned author who doesn't listen to her editors, Kristi Noem, who has been tasked with overseeing Homeland Security. So if the homeland needs securing, expect its enemies to be shown to a gravel pit.
Yeah, I do remember Christie, that's right,
Mm-hmm.
the poodle popper, right?
Yes, that is the perfect nickname for her. Well done. Then we have Tulsi Gabbard, who many believe to be a Russian asset, and she is now the director of all of our spy agencies.
Well, hey, I mean, look, if you're going to have a pro-Russian president, you're going to need pro-Russian spy directors. And we want to make sure everyone's looking the other way when Russia does something. Otherwise, it just muddies the water.
Right, exactly. It would be very inefficient otherwise. We've got them. We've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who doesn't believe in vaccines, but who does believe that whale juice raining on his children is perfectly acceptable. He's going to be our new Secretary of Health and Human Services. Also been accused of raping his babysitter. Side note. Now, he does rightfully believe that we should all be eating healthier food. I think we can all agree on that. We could probably all be eating a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
Now, that made for an awkward moment, though, when Donald Trump served him McDonald's on his airplane. So there's a really hilarious picture of that. We'll show that real quick. Now, here's a question. Why would a man this rich and powerful want to eat McDonald's at all? I don't know, but I encourage it. I say we feed this man a Big Mac every 20 minutes and just see what happens.
I suspect if we're feeding Donald Trump a Big Mac every 20 minutes, he's going to get hungry. It's just like, come on, where's my Big Mac? I've been waiting longer than the prescribed 10 minutes I'm used to, for goodness sake. As for RFKJ Kennedy Jr., yeah, I saw the picture. It did look like they were surrounding him, kind of going, go on, eat it.
Yeah,
Eat
exactly.
it. And just, like there's some sort of mafia film, isn't it? You know what I mean? They kind of like opened his mouth and just shoved this Big Mac down.
Yes.
And I do understand that there's more than your daily recommended intake of brainworms too. So that's going to help RFK Jr., isn't it? Yes.
Yes, yes. Well, the intestinal worms, they like to have a man on the inside, you know. Then we've got Dr. Oz, a snake oil salesman who used to have a healthy living show on TV. I'm suspecting there was a rerun of that show on. Trump caught it and said, ooh, light bulb moment. Let me call him up. That guy is going to be in charge of Medicare and Medicaid, which is the closest thing that we have to your NHS. So go ahead and just go out and buy stock in whatever substance sounds the absolute snake oiliest, because it's about to get a huge boost.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm buying up the domain names, snakeoil.co.us and snakeoil.org and snakeoil.com. And of course, leeches. We can't forget the healing power of leeches.
There's never been a better time to invest in leeches. Everyone go get a jar or six. Matt, really, we should talk to the leech people about a sponsorship deal for our show. So let's circle back to that after we're done here today. So we can make some money off of this. But perhaps the most scandalous of all of these cabinet picks is 80s movie villain crossbred with the gym teacher that made you uncomfortable in high school, Matt Gaetz. So a report was about to come out from the House Ethics Committee saying that this guy does drugs when he's not too busy screwing teenage prostitutes. And then he was riding on an airplane with Trump. And then all of a sudden, Trump was like, hey, you should be attorney general, because he laid eyes on him. And so he resigned as a representative from the House of Representatives so that he could try and keep that report from coming out. So, you know, maybe that wouldn't show up in his like Senate confirmation hearing. But now even the Republicans are like, no, we gotta see what's in that report, guys. Like there's Senate Republicans, including my senator, John Cornyn, who occasionally shows glimpses of, you know, decency despite being a Republican. And he's like, no, I want to see what's in there.
I've got to say, in fact, that nothing stops a secret from remaining a secret by telling people you've got a secret. And then it's really kind of tricky. You can't think of anything else, can you? You're like, oh, we've got to hear about this. It's just, okay, but you can't spread it any. No, come on. You know, bring. No, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what is happening right now. So you've got Trump behind the scenes making phone calls to senators, trying to twist their arms and tell them, you know, just go along with this. Don't worry about this report. You have got the House Majority Leader, Mike Johnson. And he has been like, you know what? Nope, we don't need to release that report. Let's keep that report under wraps. He's no longer a congressman. There's nothing to see here. Let's just not even talk about that. So there's a lot of this like behind the scenes stuff going on. And it's like, guys, you know, somebody's just going to leak it, right? It's just going to get leaked. If you don't release it, some staffer will leak it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. So they're having a meeting today to decide whether or not they're going to leak it. As of now, you know what? Let me do a quick check and just make sure nothing exciting has happened with that. Doesn't seem like anything has happened with that yet. But if they do decide to release that report today, we'll talk about that in our Friday show this week. But if it doesn't come out by the end of the week, we'll talk about it next week when somebody leaks it. How does that sound?
Excellent. Excellent. I'm looking forward to it, which is a weird thing. I didn't expect I would actually sort of turn around and say I'm looking forward to something that might involve drugs and sleeping with teenage prostitutes, you know, but there we go.
Yes, it's going to be a very interesting report. A lot of details have already come out, so I don't think there will be a lot of new information. It'll just be kind of all in one place instead of like, oh, this woman said this and this woman said that, and this one, you know, has drug deal money on his Venmo account. Apparently his adopted son, he uses his adopted son's Venmo to pay for things to try to keep it. It's like, guys, just the dumbest criminals ever. Donald Trump has assembled them all. The count here is we've got 3 rapists, 1 dog murderer, 1 snake oil salesman, a Russian spy, and a guy with brainworms. Dream team, right?
And also, I've noticed that there's on top of that, a Trump advisor, a chap called Stephen Moore. Have you ever heard of him, Andrea?
I have not. Is he also a rapist? I'm guessing.
I honestly, I miss those days when we could confidently say no. Um, so I'm not sure, but anyway, anywho, as you Americans like to say, he said that the UK needs to decide if it wants to follow the US economic model or be more like the EU. A case of, rather proud this one, a case of out of the frying pan into the furor.
Well, before you make any big decisions on that, I would say give it a few months, see what happens
Hmm.
to the economy. We're going to do some real fun stuff with tariffs, apparently. And our food supply is about to be taxed like 100%. So, just give it a minute before you make any decisions, see how it all shakes out.
Yes, it's when we did Brexit, in
Hmm.
2016, it was all about gaining back sovereignty. Get your sovereignty back. Now these
Yeah.
same people that have been screaming about sovereignty sat there kind of going, "Oh, we don't want to upset the Americans. We want to make sure we don't want to upset the Americans." It's like, hang on a minute, what happened to standing on our own 2 feet, for goodness sake? It's quite a few of them are turning around and saying Lammy should be sacked because he upset Donald Trump. It's like, no, we decide, we elect our leaders, they decide the cabinet. He's an elected official. You can't decide somebody else in some other country, that sort of thing. But anyway, that's kind of where we are. But with
Yes.
reference to that as well, I wonder if we could have a chat about Ukraine.
Oof, yes. This is a comedy podcast after all, and we talk about all of the funniest issues. And Ukraine, obviously, rich with humor these days.
um, and with reference to the fact that Donald Trump has made it perfectly clear that unless the pair of them sit down and hammer out a deal, if Putin won't do it, he's going to give Zelensky all of the stuff he needs to bomb Russia, apparently. And if Zelensky doesn't, I don't think Zelensky's really got that much of a choice, has he really? Um, and bearing in mind that Putin, it's not like Putin's just kind of going, oh, just step my foot over. Okay, I'll be on my way back then. He's
Right.
taken large parts of Ukraine, of course. It is one of those, unfortunately, where without America, winning that war becomes pretty well impossible. Unfortunately.
Yes.
It's been 1,000 days, and they've done amazingly to keep them out. Plus, you never really, if you try and control Ukraine, as we've seen with so many other countries, if you try and control it just through the military alone with an iron fist, as it were, that never works out well either. I do think that perhaps if America does go down that route, that Europe will probably go down the same route. Interestingly, the one stand out for this, and I'm rather proud of this. I don't like to see war in any sort of regard, but this was started by Russia. I mean, that's what people kind of forget. Ukraine didn't invade Russia; it was the other way around.
Sure.
Um, and Starmer has still sort of stuck by his "we're going to do this for as long as it takes" mantra. There's no deviation from that, and that projects strength, of course, doesn't it? Which is kind of what you want to see at the moment. But I'm not so sure about the rest of Europe. That's all.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is, there's been a little bit of an escalation this week. So the US had said, okay, we're going to give you a bunch of weapons, but you can't do these certain things. And now the Biden administration said,
Yeah.
go nuts. I don't care. I'm going to be gone in a few months. Start World War III. This will be Donald Trump's problem. Peace out. Which, honestly, bold move on his part. I have to give him props. If it's like, hey, if I'm going to make this guy look bad, I better start now. World War III, pop off. I'll be at the beach if anybody needs me. So it's an interesting approach. Now, of course, Russia has responded by saying, oh, well, maybe we'll just polish up our nuclear arsenal over here instead of, in case of a rainy day, just do people polish bombs? I don't know. I should know. I'm an American. I should know way more about bombs than I do. But, the education system, they're trying to sneak Bible stuff in. So we have less room for the bomb polishing. Anywho, you're correct. We do like to say that. There is definitely a possibility of a teensy weensy little world war kicking off sometime in the next year if this doesn't get sorted pretty quickly. So yeah, that's I normally would be nervous about that. But the anxiety part of my brain has just sort of been so overloaded lately that it's kind of shut off,
Mm.
and I can't really feel things anymore. Honestly, recommend it. It's great.
Wow. Okay, I might take that on. I do notice that Starmer in one of his he was addressing. I can't even remember where it was, but he was addressing the press, and they asked him if people in the UK should prepare for a nuclear war.
Hmm.
And he left, and apparently the headline said he left a bit paused for a bit too long
Oh
before
no.
saying no. But I remember thinking, but there's no right answer to that. Because yes, you
Yeah.
should prepare for a nuclear war. We all should. It's not to say that we'll get it, but
Right.
you should have some sort of like plan, right? But I
Right.
guess you can't really say, yeah, yeah, you should definitely prepare for a nuclear war, just to be on the safe side, because
Yeah,
nobody's
you
going to
don't want
take
to cause a
that.
panic, but at the same time, you want people to be prepared. And how does one prepare for a nuclear war anyway?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the to-do list look like for such a thing? I don't know. Should we all dig a bunker in the backyard? I mean, how does this work?
Well, where I am in London, I'm going to be one of the first to go.
Okay.
They'll try and take out, if they try, well, just makes sense. I'm going to move on to another bit about this whole nuclear war thing. But if they try and use long range missiles to take out Westminster, that's
Yeah.
2 miles up the road from me. The
Ah,
fallout,
okay.
and I kind of hope that it does. I don't want to be around. I hope that it's quick. I sit there going,
Yeah.
3 minute warning. That's not enough time for a cup of tea. And by the time I haven't got time to say tea, and
Yeah,
then whoosh,
exactly. That's
the
the
whole,
ideal scenario.
yeah, because these people that hang around afterward, just skin falling after
Yep.
several days, rather painful way to go, I'd imagine. But when it comes to nuclear war, and this is the reason why I'm not so sure, somebody was talking about this, like an ex-general or something. He was saying it's unlikely in reality to happen because people are getting better at hitting particular targets. There's no reason to hit the
Okay.
civilians. It just doesn't make sense. If you decide, for instance, if Russia decided to send nuclear bombs into Ukraine, if the wind picks the wrong direction, that's going to come back on Russia.
Right.
And as someone said, the shorter stuff that you try and fire off, these like the S's get that they use in Iraq, that's okay. But again, once you load them up and ready to fire and stuff like that, whatever you're firing at is moved on to somewhere else. So, I mean, look, I don't know. I know as much as you do. I'll be there polishing the bombs, and just like, shh, yeah.
Well, I think that there would be something really, really comedically ironic if we end up, you know, in a nuclear war with Russia. Obviously, the first target that they would want to hit is the White House, and there Trump would be. And that's hilarious. That's just objectively hilarious. I mean, it's bad for the whole end of civilization type stuff. But I mean, what's funnier than that comedically? Like he was Putin's stooge for so long, and just the first bomb that came over just psh, right at him. That's
Even if at
hilarious.
that point you got 3 minutes to go, you'll be like, "Oh, turn on channel 9, turn on channel
Yeah.
9." You know what I mean? And then watch the White House go, "Yes, okay." Group hug, everyone. Group hug. We've just got about 30 seconds left. Anybody want to say anything? Okay. Yeah. No, not too much. Not too much. All right. Yeah.
Yes,
Rather
and it's
dystopian sort of. Yeah.
group
I like
hug
to
with the
think.
worst people imaginable, just hugging each other. Yeah, that's quite the
By the way,
tableau, isn't it?
I like to think that even if it means the end of the world, we'd still be British. We wouldn't randomly hug people. It'd just be like, "What are you doing?" The world's about to end. I understand, but get off me. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'd rather see.
just a quiet nod and a cheers, mate, you know.
Yeah, yeah, a firm handshake. Thank you. Oh, right. Thank you. I think we've dealt with that rather well, haven't we? I think we've given that the seriousness.
Extremely therapeutic.
All right. So
It's a
that's all
comedy
the time we
podcast.
got for this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here and listening and watching. And if you want to continue to do so, both on our respective channels, you can find Andrew's right here at Phoenix News Network, and mine, where I talk about the UK politics, at theinterestingtimes.com. And we'll do it all again next week, Andrea. All right? So take care,
Sounds
everyone.
Bye-bye.